Now, the other thing with that, when you were talking about this, it made me think. So we were talking about these spiritual teachers on YouTube. There were two different responses that came inbound to me about Adyashanti, who is, this legendary spiritual teacher.
Deeply realized human,
Deeply realized being. And, when Angela talks about Adya, it's like, he sounds like a fanboy. It's like, this guy is like empty.
I mean, it's
all
nice,
get-go.
isn't it? Because like, I don't know if Angela would agree, but he's kind of like, almost like a progeny, in the way that he writes. Certainly when I read Awake, It's Your Turn, it's just like, it's like hearing Adya's style with Angela.
Yes.
You can tell that Angela's had a
influence.
Well, not just an influence, but like a deep connection, and that's like compassionately and lovingly coming out in Angelo's communication. So he's a beautiful teacher. Yeah.
And Angelo's spent time in, Adya's presence. Has described some of it to me, and it's quite clear. And if you read Emptiness Dancing or one of Adya's books, it's so clear. It's kind of scary. And actually, again, a side note, and I'll get to the main point. I recently, at the end of Emptiness Dancing, there's an interview that Adya does with Tammy Simon about his own life. It's quite an interview. So the first time I heard it was some time ago on audio. Then I read it, and it always resonated on some level. I read it again just the other day after coming back from retreat, and my jaw was on the ground because everything he was pointing at was now a lived experience of mine. Not exactly, but so close that I was like, wait a minute. I never understood what he was saying. Even on I knew there was something there, but even the deepest intuitive level. And now I'm like, wow, holy shit. Like, oh my God, it was this huge release of like, okay. And it just deepened the trust that everything is unfolding. Like just let it be. Stop pushing and pulling and thinking you know what you're doing, because you never will. It's this. So 2 responses to Adya's retirement letter where he said, listen guys, I think it's time I stop teaching, and sometimes it just becomes clear, and I've learned to listen to this voice of the years. And so one thing that's been happening is this chronic pain and a lot of very bad physical karma and a kind of PTSD that has happened from this. And I think I feel like I need to sit with this and so on. And so there were 2 responses. One came inbound to me from someone I know, and they said, man, I was so angry when I read Adya's letter because I feel like, these fucking gurus are lying to us. Here they are suffering. He had chronic pain. He had this, he had that. And he's sitting here saying, the absolute.
Wow,
this and
that
this.
is intense.
And here I am fucking suffering and wondering why he's so perfect. And he's not fucking perfect. And the anger was coming off the page. And the thing is, I felt it too. I felt into what he was saying, and I felt exactly what he was feeling. And I responded from that place of understanding. I go, I know why it would feel this way. Absolutely. I understand what you're feeling. It is horrible to feel like there's this perfect thing, and then that veil is stripped away, and you realize we're all humans, right? But, keep going, don't give up, etc. Then the other inbound was someone I met at retreat and I met with recently. And she said this. She said, when I read Adya's letter, it was this massive, joyous relief because I knew this, what he was pointing at already, which is there's never an end to the human experience, and there never needs to be. And the fact that he could have PTSD and still have such realization and such clarity shows me that I will never have to strive for this asymptotic perfection. I can just let it be and let realization be. And if that shows up as PTSD, if it shows up as some suffering, then I can discern it and let it be. And it was a huge burden off her because she's an achiever and has always kind of sought awakening. And then when it came, she was like, there's nothing to achieve. But then look at that guy, he's perfect and he's perfect. And always the comparing mind, and the comparing mind could relax. So Adya gave 2 gifts, 2 different gifts to 2 different people at 2 different places.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, I wanted to do say some words about Adya and about his retirement letter, but I mean, David McDonald said some really lovely words about his response to kind of like non-dual fundamentalism, which was really good. But I guess the other thing that I wanted to pull out, which was different to what David pulled out, was exactly what you're talking about, is the human manifestation that we share. This is what you get. This is what you get. You don't escape it. You don't suddenly wake up well, the only thing you can wake up to is your humanity. That's it. That's all you've got to wake up to.
That's it.
There is
yes.
nothing. And you can recognize how that humanity is not isolated and separate from nature. It is a force of nature, and you are it. So yeah, of course. But it's deeply human, you know. And actually, what's really interesting is that because of the pain his body suffered, whilst he was deeply awakened and deeply realised, his nervous system went into post-traumatic stress disorder. So it points to the fact that actually there's real care that is just practical, kind of got nothing to do with awakening. It's just about looking after this being that we can do that will help us becoming overwhelmed, traumatized, disconnected, distant, and suffering from chronic pain. And it's kind of what we touched on, you know, the first time that we spoke. But, you know, and maybe that's why some people really resonated with it, because it's just not woo. There's loads of really good advice that's really well tested about how to just regulate the nervous system so that things like chronic pain can be managed, and so that trauma can be healed from, or we don't re-traumatize ourselves. So yeah, I thought it was a really important message for Adya to share. And actually, there could be some, I don't know Adyashanti, but you could say, well, actually, had he known about the state of play in the field of trauma healing now, which is pretty great, you know, like it's better than it's ever been. Had he known about that 20 years ago, would that have give him different tools, just practical tools to be able to work with, you know, his pain, his human manifestation? Who knows? But I guess I'm kind of advocating, as I probably am known to do, but I'm advocating for, just like well-researched, simple, practical skills that can help you be a person. Like, you can wake up, but you don't get to abandon this. In fact, you have this all the way until you don't have it anymore.
Yes,